I repeat, struts, it is an MVC framework, model view controller framework. Each time you are writing a request or each time you are writing some HTML code, you are writing one more servlet or you're writing one controller to process the request. That is, if you have got login, then you have got one servlet called login servlet. And if you have got register, then you're writing one more servlet called register servlet. And if you are writing something XYZ, you're writing a corresponding servlet. So when it comes to the struts, you will have only one servlet, When it comes to the struts, I repeat, you will have only one servlet. That servlet will map or will handle all the incoming requests. So over here, if you see, you are having only one servlet, action servlet. That servlet will handle all the requests, A, B, C. Let's say the request comes to A, then it will hand it over to uh, a controller. If it comes to B, then it will hand it over to the respective form page. I don't cannot get it. Let me do it. So let me create a project. Starts app, and then click next. Over here, you need to include this add struts.tld. Click finish. Now over here, if you see, okay, you are including all the respective tag lib directories. Where is that? This one? Okay. Let me delete all this stuff. Right click and then say that. Let us see whether it works or not. Now over here, if you see this application, it has got same web application. Sorry, it has got the same structure as that of your normal application, but we are including the struts file in this. Now, if you expand this web.inf, these are the struts tld file tag lib directories that are added. Okay, fine. So you're missing that. Okay, welcome.
Yeah, I missed that.
Over here, if you see, in this configuration file, you are already having a servlet by name action servlet. You're already having a name by the action servlet. And if you see over here, all the mappings that are starting with start.do, all the mapping that are with start.do will go to this servlet. Can you observe over here? You are creating again. We are not creating this servlet. This is the servlet that is being provided by the struts framework. And the name of that is action servlet. And then if you observe over here under servlet mapping, start.do, that is all the requests ending with start.do will come to the action servlet, will be dispatched to the action servlet. Now, next.
Sorry, it's not. It was not clear why we use the start.do.
This one, the reason you do start.do is because all your extensions, all the URL patterns ending with the extension start.do. If you want to use any other alternate pattern, you're free to use. But the default template that is created by the NetBeans has got start.do pattern. It is not mandatory. You can use any pattern based on your
So if we
requirement.
run like a JSP file or HTML, it makes it to convert to .do file.
It depends what you're writing. If you're writing start.html, only the stuff that is ending with .html extension will come back to the server. Otherwise, no. If your writing is this one, if the request is from HTML, then only it will be handled. If I write forward slash, that means it will match any URL pattern. Forward slash is for any URL pattern. So if I write forward slash, the request that is ending with any URL pattern will match with this. So for our convenience or the NetBeans template, by default it generates this button start.do. So there is no ground rule that it has to be start.do. It is being generated by the NetBeans IDE. So based on your project requirement, you can set it.
Mm. Oh,
Now, so these are all the TLD files that are added. Now under source package, you have got one properties file that we will be discussing later what it contains. Now let me create a JSP page, or else if you see over here welcome.struts.jsp, that is from the index page, you are being redirected to this page. Let me add some stuff over here. Let us create a form. Now you will be using strut specific tags, HTML colon and then form. Action, you are mapping this to uh, let's say register. HTML, and for the text field you have got this option text, and then property, that is the name what you are giving is let us give f name. Based on your requirement you can give anything. Let me give a line break, HTML colon again text password, and then based on your requirement you can create the form, and then HTML colon button. Now let us check. Right click and then run file. Cannot retrieve mapping for register. So you will write register.to, because we said all will end with .html.to extension. So again it says cannot retrieve the mapping for this register. The reason it says is all the URL pattern they should be mapped. Now in order to map this URL pattern, you have got a configuration file, that is struts config. Over here you will be writing all the URL patterns. So if you see for welcome, it is welcome.do, and action mappings, if you see, if it is welcome, then it is mapping to welcome struts.jsp. So similarly you need to write this action path equal. register. If it is register, forward it to register. Just I'm writing register 1, 2, 3. We have to change this. So what we learn over here is that is all the configuration related stuff. It should you have to write it over here. Action path. If it is register, then it should forward it to this register.jsp page. That is all the mappings. This is the logical name and this is the actual new name to which it should be forwarded. So that should be configured in your web application. So form B not specified on mapping for action. Okay, fine, that we will work on that. Now over here, next what you have to do is create a form B. And like other, you go to struts and then okay, you have got struts action form bean. Also, in order to handle each form, you create a form bean for that. Click next. uh, Register form bean and then package you can specify it as beans and then click finish. So you have got this registration form bean. Now in this registration form bean, what you have to do is, let me keep all this stuff same. The simple thing what you need to observe is this registration form bean, it extends from struts action form. This is the built-in class. Registration form bean, it extends from struts action form class. That is, whenever you're hitting on the submit button, your form will be handled by this bean. I repeat, when you hit into the submit button, then this will be handled by this. Now it has got an method called validate. It has got a method called validate, and that's whole. This method's job is to validate your form fields. This method's job is to validate the form fields. So the fields what we have is private, string, fname, and then password. So this is the form what you have. Close all. So let me first start. What is that? Register form bean, and its form what you have is, what is the form? Okay, I think I'm writing in this. Welcome stress. So F name and then the password. This is your form. F name you have, and then the key we have got password. So F name and password, and you need to provide setter and then the getter method, or insert for inserting the setter method, getter and then the setter. Okay, so once you have generated the setter and then the getter methods, now then the request comes to this one. So if action errors dot validate. So you should check this if get f name if it is equal to null, or get f name dot length if it is less than 0, error dot. So the property what for which you are registering this one is f name error dot f name dot p. Oh sorry, this one is So add error.name.key to your response. So what you have to do is you need to go to this application resources. You have got a property file wherein you will be writing all this stuff. So error.fname.required. Fname cannot be left blank. So you have added this. The next what you have, similarly, you will write this for password field also. Instead of this, you will be writing get password, and over here also you will write the same get password. And instead of fname, what is the property which you have is password, error dot password dot required. Then r add, I go to this application properties, and then error dot password dot required, password field required. Done with this. Form B not specified. Okay. Now you need to specify an action controller for this. So next what you have to do is, this is the form bean. Next is other struts, and then you have got struts action, register action. So the path what we are giving is register. Click next. Use action form bean. Action form bean name, yes, it is got. And what is the input, from which page it is coming? It is coming from this welcome struts to JSP page. And where to store this? We want to store this in the request scope. And do you want the validation to happen for this form being? Yes. And then finally you click finish. Okay, now you go to this struts config file. Now over here you can observe this is the form bean. Form bean is registration form bean name, and then its fully qualified name is beans.registration.form bean. And then if you see over here, this has been added. So action input is welcome struts.jsp. For this, the form, that is the bean for this respective form, is registration form bean, and the path what you have provided is register, and you have to store this bean in the request scope, and then type is equal to bean dot registration action. Clear with this? Now when you hit onto this submit form, when you click over here, let's say if I'm writing John and then John, this first it will go to this first, this request will go to this register form B, because that is what you are specifying. Welcome starts.gsp, when the input is this, then this request should be handled by this register form B. This is what we are specifying. If input is welcome starts.jsp, and then the action path is register, then this should be handled by this register form B. So you will come to this, and automatically it will retrieve all your form attributes and it will store it in this f name and then password. And after it has populated the form bean with the form BAM, this one will happen. After it has populated, Form bean with the form parameters, then the struts infrastructure controller will call this validate method. When it is calling the validate method, it will check whether the form parameters are properly filled or not. If they are filled, well and good. If they are not filled, it will generate the error messages, that is fname required and password field cannot be left blank. So in order to process the error messages, you need to, okay, you have got one more
Atika, the
yes,
parameters are automatically getting, like here we are not getting it from the request scope or inside the servlet, we are not getting it from the request scope. So
yes,
from the property name and whatever the fields that we are defining inside the uh, form bean, so that should
mhm,
match. That's how that is how it is getting, the parameters are getting mapped.
yes, it should match.
It should match.
Yes. How it is happening
Okay.
is because if you see over here in the configuration, you're specifying. That is for this part is for this register. Over here, you can observe where is that welcome stats. Over here, part you have specified as register. So for this form, what is the corresponding form being? Register form being. So this happens from here. It reads this configuration file framework,
Mm.
and then for the register part, you're specifying register form bean. So the control directly
Okay.
goes to the register form bean, wherein it will retrieve all the form parameters and populate it. As we said, it is automatic, and the field name should match.
Okay.
This name should match f name, then you
Okay.
should have a property with f name, and here it is
Mm.
password. And the register form bean, you should have a property by this name. That is the reason we have this. Now
Okay.
let's say if you have the error messages, if you have the error messages, then it is going to return errors. It is going to return the error object to the JSP page. So that also we have specified. If you again this thing, so okay, so let me leave this blank and see what happens. Oh, sorry, see, it is not returning.
Mm.
So what you have to do is over here you have got another attribute called validate is equal to true. Validate, if you say it as true, then it will validate. Let me build it. Where is this form B? Let me just check whether it is printing the system without the print element. Let us check over here the image. Where is this file? Let us run this.
Adhika, we gave system.out.println, right? So should
Yeah.
we be looking in the console?
Oh, can you find?
No.
Oh, the request is not coming over here. Or it's not coming to this bean. What I have given, where is that? Let us check this. Input is this, register, path, fine. Scope we are storing in the request. Validate is true. Right. Register. Mm, we need to add these TLD files. Oh, sorry, you need to change this also. So your action is this is fine. Understood config. Input is some other. This is some different. No, that is not visiting the B. So this is correct. Action is comfort, name, Wow. Let us see the source code. Now processing is taking place. For this action, 1 minute, let me just create a DSP page. This button does not work. Let me just check what button we have written. Okay, the button, okay, actually, whenever you're using button, it is for what do you say, JavaScript. You should go with submit. So that is the error we have made. Button is if you have to go with some JavaScript, you use button. But whereas if the form has to be submitted to the server side, then you should use this HTML colon submit. So this was the error. So if name cannot be left blank and password field cannot be left blank. You're not writing any code to process the error messages if you write this HTML colon errors. So from the registration form bean, this error object is returned back to this JSP page. This one is returned back to this. So if you write this HTML colon error stack, it will be processed by the struts framework. So you don't have to write each and every error. Clear on this?
Atika, can you give us just a quick walkthrough of like from the HTML form to the we wrote one form bean we wrote and another one thing we wrote action one. I don't understand the purpose of that one, and also the initial configuration file servlet mapping. If you can now you can explain with this context we can understand it better. I think so.
First,
Basically, a quick walkthrough of end to end.
okay, fine. First, you have created register.js. So within this, what you have written is this is the code what we have written under register.js. So first, we have written this register.js. So within this register.jsp, let me just remove all the grid lines. So this is the what we have written register.jsp. Now in this register.jsp, if you see this is the form what you have created. Let me copy this and then paste it over here. Okay. Let me take Winward and change the layout. So this is the stuff what we have written. Now from here, your information, what happens then? So your stats controller, it will read your web.xml file. It will read your web.xml file. So when it is reading that web.xml, sorry, stats config file, this is the file you have. It will read this file, stats config file. So when it is reading this file, it finds that it reads this action mapping. Let me paste this. Now over here, if you see, I've got all the properties defined. That is, the input is coming from register, and if you are clicking on the submit button for this, that should be handled by a form bean by name registration form bean. So what happens is the moment you hit into the submit button, it will invoke registration form bean class. So it calls this registration form bean class. Now how does it does this? Now over here you see what happens.
Can you put the class names also at the top?
Okay, fine. So this is your registration form bean class. Now over here what it does is the controller will check, does this request uh, Are you okay? Validate is equal to true. If validation, if you're checking for the validation, then it should call the register. It should validate the form. Your form should be validated. So when your form should be validated, it should it will call the respective form being class for this. Clear on this? So within this, what it is doing is the method what it calls is validate method. It will populate before it calls, it will populate the form being. It will populate the form being, then it will call the validate method. So in the validate method, what it is doing is it is checking whether mm, your form fields are correct or not. If it is correct, well and good. If in case if it has got any error messages, that is if you did not write fill the form fields properly, then it is returning you an errors object. Return errors. The reason it happens is because your specified validate is equal to true, and then if in case if there are any errors, then take help of this tag that is the input. Sorry, this one. It should, if in case if there are any errors, if it is returning, then it should redirect the input back to this. Clear with this? So first, register.do, it will check whether validation is specified for that. If validation is set to true, then it will call the respective form bean class, populate the form bean with the form parameters, and then it will call the validate methods. If there are any errors, then it will return it back to the input. It will return it back to the form. So you are not writing any request dispatcher code over here. You are just writing your business logic, and framework is controlling all the what do you say? All the steps are being controlled by the framework. Are we clear on this? We are nowhere writing request dispatcher over here. You are just writing your business logic. Rest of the processing is being done by the framework. Is it clear so far?
Yeah. What happens when the validation goes through, Atika? I understand when it is error, it sees input form and it goes back to the register.jsp, and I understand like we don't have to, that errors,
Hmm.
struts is taking care of displaying all the errors. We don't have to write the code. But on the other hand, what happens when the input is getting validated successfully?
Okay. Now the question is if the input is getting validated successfully. So in case of errors, this is the path. Now, if there are no errors, if there are errors, then I take this path. If in case if there are no errors, then you have another stuff that is called as struts action. If there are no errors,
Oh, that's why we are defining that action. What is it called? Action bean.
yes,
Is it right?
action.
What is that? Action bean, okay.
You
Form bean and
write your,
action
all
bean,
your
okay.
business logic, what you want to do with that. Let's say you want to put that into the database, then you can write the logic
Mm.
for that. Then, if there are no errors, let me pick up this green color. If there are no errors, then I will go to this register bean, wherein you can write all your business logic. Whatever you want to do with this. You want to store it into the database? Yes, you can go ahead and store it. So if you come over here, you have got this action. So automatically, if you see it is going to call this execute method. So in the execute
Okay.
method, you would be writing the logic. So your struts framework will call this execute method. In the execute method, you will write XYZ logic, whatever you want, you can write it. And this bean is accessible in this.
And one more small question, Atika, that register.do, I think that mapping is also there in the config file, I think. Can you show me that, how that, the name confusion, just I understand how it is getting forwarded to the form bean, but just the name register.do, whereas in the action, we are giving only the path as a register. So how that is getting, that name is getting mapped?
Because initially we have specified over here, if you go to this web.xml, all the stuff that is mapping with start.do should go to
Hmm.
this servlet. struts action
Hmm.
servlet. And then over here, if you see init param, you're specifying over here. So whereas the
Configuration file.
when you
Okay.
specify this action servlet, then how this action servlet will what you say will configure the mappings. So where are we writing the mappings? So what it does is it reads the struts config struts config.xml file. So it goes to the
Uh,
struts config.xml file wherein it will
once again, Atika, that URL pattern, we mean only the URL with that pattern will be allowed. If it is anything else, it won't even process it. Like suppose say I'm just writing not like registered or do. I'm writing like say hello. Won't it get processed? What happens if we
over
do
here.
not follow that? No, uh, in the web.xml file. In
Okay.
the web.xml file, there is a URL pattern.
Hmm.
We are specifying start or do. I understand we have to follow that so that
Yes.
like the action servlet will accept it. If it is not following the pattern, what happens?
That is not mandatory you have to do it. Okay, you specify this forward slash. It is going to handle all the URL patterns.
Okay, so only those will be accepted
Yes,
by
forward
this
slash
action
means
servlet.
it is going to
I mean,
look for
anything in case like start or do or because I have seen like in some of the eh, I mean I'm not a developer but I have seen this URL pattern mentioning like they will give like a lot of patterns in this web.xml file. What I'm trying to understand is if I mean the other URL patterns that we don't specify here means we are blocking those URLs. That's what it means.
yes,
We are whitelisting it here.
yes, it will block those URLs.
It will block them. Okay, got it.
Generally for the struts, okay, they'll use that as start or do that as standard. But most of the time, as you said, okay, you will come across various URL patterns. Again, it is application specific. Okay, now where are we? Fine, registered action. So it will come to this, and this is okay. You have action mapping. This action mapping is equivalent to your request dispatcher. Now over here, if you see, okay, you have got access to the action form. That is, your action form is the register form bean class. So this action form is equivalent to your register form bean class. So if everything goes fine, then from the errors, you are moving to this register action, wherein it will call the execute method. This execute method, it takes three parameters. One is action mapping. This action mapping is equivalent to your request dispatcher. Action form is your form B from where the request is being processed. And then you have got HTTP servlet request and HTTP servlet response. Now let's say I want to map all this information to the database. I want to record this into the database. So let me get all the form parameters from the form bean. Register form bean R is equal to, you need to map it to your application specific because it is returning you the generic form bean, register form bean of form. So you are converting it. And then let's say you have to connect to the database and store all this stuff. I'm not connecting to the database, I'll just print it. System.out.println. Assume you have connected to the database and you are storing all this. So you have to record all this fname, rf dot get fname, and then system.out.println, and then you've got password, rf dot get password. Done. And then let's say it has been registered and you have to redirect the user to a page saying registration successful. So this is equivalent to your mapping.findForward. So your mapping.findForward is equivalent to your action forward. This mapping.findForward is equal. So over here you will not be writing the actual view name. Here we are writing the logical name that is success. But this success should be mapped to a page called success.js. The success, it should map to a page called success.js. So first let us create a page called success page wherein you can display the message success page. Oh, thanks for registration. Based on your requirement, you can write anything. But let me just write thanks for registration. So once you are done with this, let me close all the stuff. Hmm. Okay, now again you need to go to the struts config file and then again under action mapping. Over here you have to specify action. So under this, you have got a tag called forward, and under this forward, your name is success and path is equal to what is that? Success.js. So if the registration is successful, it should go to a page called success.js. Now let us anyway it is already being deployed. Let's run it. Just fill the form field and go to the submit button. Resource not found.
I think success spelling is wrong. Success.jsp spelling.
Okay. Oh yeah, thank you. Success. Yeah, no, it's correct. Thanks for registration. If in case if it is a failure, then you need to write one more page. Forward name based on your processing. You need to create those many pages. So whatever message for XYZ reason you cannot enter, and if you want multiple pages, this is how you can solve failure embedding. And then you can go back to your struts register action. So this is this. Similarly, you can create this one more failure command. So over here, rather than just writing mapping.find forward, you can keep it based on the condition. If let's say if you are registering that in the database, if count is equal to 1, because if it is registered successfully, then it will return 1. If count is equal to 1, mapping.find forward success, or else in rest of the cases you can mapping.find forward of fail. Clear on this? Over here, you can write the code to connect with the database. I'm not writing it because anyway, we are familiar and we have already done that. So this is the basic overview of the struts framework. So again, from here, when you say return mapping.find forward, again it goes to the struts config file. From here, we check the logical name success, and then it will map it to the actual path. This failure, this is the logical name, and then it will map it to the actual path. Is it clear?
Yeah.
But in the market, struts framework is not being used, but for the new projects, you'll not be using this, you'll be using Spring Framework. in framework has got a lot more advantage than this. So you will be writing similar sort, that is configuration file and all again. You will be again writing the same thing in the Spring also, and you will get a lot more advantages in the Spring phase compared to this. The OER name, it is saying forward name is equal to success and the path you have to specify. So this logical link is mapped to which view. So you are mapping this to success.js. So over here, if you see, okay, you're not writing any request dispatcher and all. So the job of the framework is, like earlier when we were writing the servlet code, there we were taking care of request dispatching, request dispatcher, retrieving the form data, populating the form name, and then checking the errors. If there are any errors, then you are populating it in the object, then you're storing it. You're not doing anything over here. You're just writing your business logic, and you are providing the configuration information. Over here, you're just provided input is this page, and it should go to the registration form B, and this form bean you have to store it into the request scope, and then you specified validation as true, and if there are any errors then it should go back to this page register.js, and if there are no errors then it should go to this register action. If it is processed successfully it should go to the success.jsp, otherwise failure.jsp. So in order to control the flow of the application, you're not writing any code, you're just mentioning information in terms of tags. You're just providing the information over here. You're not writing any code. You're just providing the information in the configuration file, and your struts framework will read the configuration file and process it. So the flow of the application is controlled by your framework. It is processing the flow. You have to just provide the information in in configuration file. Rest of the processing is done by the framework. So this is the advantage what you get when you're using the framework. It will automate the process. In short, if I say it is automating the process. So do we have any questions?
Here we are specifying the scope request. So do you need to specify anything for response?
Hello?
Yeah, here we are specifying the scope equal request. So
Yes.
do we need to specify anything for response?
Response, if in case if you want cookies and all, if you're going, then you can go with the response. But you should not go like you over here. Whenever you're going with the form beans and all, you'll store it in the request scope. You don't store it in the response scope. So you can either go with request session or application scope, or else response scope is for cookies.
And what is the use of dot properties class?
Okay, the use of the dot properties class is basically this properties file will be used for internationalization. So over here, this one by default it is English. Now, if in case, okay, if you want to display the web page in the Chinese language, you have got English, etc., etc. Many languages you have got. So anyway, for all the, if you want to support internationalization, that is, you want your website to be available in various languages, then it is obvious you should not hard code the error messages. Logic, no issues, you can keep it same because you don't have a separate Java for Chinese, separate Java for English, separate etc. etc. You've got same Java code, but the error messages and the informational messages, whatever you are displaying, that should be in the locale specific, specific to the language, specific to the country. So for that purpose, what we do is we make use of properties file. Operation cancel. Let's say you want to support um, Chinese. I go to other and then properties file, click next. Give the name, application, properties, and then you have to specify mm, what did we say, Chinese. So China, ZNCIS, or let me take it Russia. RU, and then capital RU. RU is language, capital RU is small RU is language, and capital RU is country. I think it will take automatically. So if you see the over here, so all stuff. Now let me take help of the Google Translator. Translate Google. So what you do is, so this you cannot write it in English. This has to be in Chinese. Sorry, Russian. So you have to take help of the language expert. F name cannot be left blank. Let me change this to Russia. Where is Russia? Russia. So this is the use of the properties file. Clear with this? So all the error messages you have to write it with respect to the Russian language. So based on the language that is selected by the user, appropriate properties file will be picked up, and from there it will read all the messages. Clear on this?
Yes.
Yes, but Atika, for that Russia we are specifying RU, so we have to follow that naming convention in the file.
Yes, yes, you have to follow the naming convention.
Okay. I don't have to be checking inside my app like what is putting like checks like what site or like say .in or something like that. I don't have to check it. Uh,
No, like
how
here
does
if you
it know
see
that?
on the website, English, Hindi, etc. will be there. So if it is English, is the language that is selected by the user as English, then it should read it from this properties file. You have to load it accordingly. And then okay, if it is this, then it has to locate then it has to locate it from this file. So based on the
Okay.
language selected by the user, appropriate file will be picked up by the framework. You have to write the code. We have to write the code for this. Because if you see in your mobile operating system, there you have select the language in settings. Based on the language you have selected, it will change the interface completely.
Oh, okay, okay, I got it.
So there, so what they do is, okay, they don't design the mobile operating system. They don't write the code specifically for those means. If you are hard coding the code, it becomes difficult. You should never hard code the code if you want to support more than one language. So what you do is you take help of the properties file in all the error messages, label and information messages. You will write it in the separate file because uh, welcome message, if you have to say, this will have some different things in Russian. So for Russian, we are just taking help of the Google Translator. We don't know whether that is correct or not. But anyway, in the real time, you have to take help of language expert. So this way. So it will read the details from this file. This is called as internationalization. Language specific, country specific.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, we did not discuss internationalization. Let me discuss at um, either next class. I may discuss that. So where you will learn how to implement internationalization for your website. The sole purpose of internationalization is language specific and country specific. You don't want to target only English market. If you want to target various markets, then the interface should be provided in their respective language. Then only you'll be able to target the market. If, let's say you have got a Chinese and he doesn't know English, and if your interface cannot be converted into Chinese, then you are losing the market in China. Let's say you want to market your website or you want to market your product in Japan. So there, whatever is the language of the Japan, you have to convert your user interface into a language that Japanese can understand, so that you can market your product. So that is the whole purpose for globalization. So can we wind up the session for today?
Yeah.
Hassan, do you have any
Yeah.
questions?
No.
Okay, sure. Then we'll wind up the session for today. See you tomorrow.
Mm.
Yeah,
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye.
okay, welcome.